Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bill Ritter.
And I'm Willow Bay. Welcome to GMA Sunday. Hope you all had a very Merry Christmas.
Did you?
I did. It was great.
Nice goodies in the
Yep,
under the
surrounded
tree?
by family. It was terrific.
Me too. I hope you're still having a happy Hanukkah as well. That celebration continues. We have... We're so excited. Pardon me?
And Kwanzaa.
And Kwanzaa.
Thank you.
Absolutely
Eartha
right.
Kitt is reminding us.
We're excited because she's here to remind us what a great singer she is, what a great performer she is.
And generally to keep us on our toes this morning.
Robin Roberts is also here, but we'll get to you in a
by the
second.
way,
Yes.
I can understand with Eartha here. Oh, by the way, Robin, too.
Now, you just met Eartha Kitt. You were excited, right?
But I feel like I've met her before. I feel like, somewhere before we've met.
We could explore that. Perhaps The View has a booking. They would like to explore that. Can they do that kind of stuff?
Very funny. I think yes, I have that kind of feeling about you too. But I have met you before, and I didn't find you in a Shirley MacLaine book.
We could explore that right now. Absolutely.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Maybe not on a Sunday
In
morning
another
television.
time, it's really true. I feel as though I've known you since the beginning of time.
Well, I certainly have watched you and performed with you.
Which means I have been here since the beginning of time. Yes, thank you
we're
very
very
much,
excited
Bill.
to have you here.
All right, and you're going to be performing for us a little bit later in the hour. And you are an awfully busy woman.
Thank goodness for that, particularly now that I want to tell the world, I'm so happy that in January I will be at the Carlisle Hotel and I will become 71 years old.
Congratulations. Oh, man. And let me... Oh, look at her. Look at her. Tina Turner, forget it. She's lucky to look like that. Now, how do you do it? This is not just genetic.
Well,
You work at it.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
I don't think about it. I just do it.
Amazing.
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes right now. Just keep talking.
You're also going on, you're doing a new CD. You're going on tour in March as who are you playing in The Wizard of Oz?
The Witch of the West.
Can you imagine?
Yes, I can.
You're never going to see such a wicked witch as I'm going to be.
And hopefully touring around the country for a whole year with no weekends, no nights off, and sometimes 3 shows a day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well.
Absolute, because the busier I am, the younger I feel, and the more I'm in love with the world.
Well,
So-
we're in love to have you here today.
Thank you.
And thanst for joining us, and you're going to perform a little later in the show.
I don't perform, darling, I do.
Ooh,
We're going to be
C formation.
be letting Eartha do in just a little while.
I'm sweating. Okay, on to sports news.
That's a good segue.
Robin, you're here with your look back at the year in sports,
That's right, Willow. I have a look like you've never seen before.
Are you 71 as well?
Hey, easy.
You'd be lucky. We're not all like that.
Absolutely.
It's been quite a year in sports, though.
It has been, and I know you were jokingly saying Robin's going to be here with a review in sports, 71 to 25, and numbers and scores, but it really goes beyond that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a deeper look in what we saw this year, and it was a fascinating year as always in sports.
Well, if we have as much fun for the rest of the show as we've had in the first 3 minutes, we'll have a great show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll get to you in a little bit. First, though, we're going to get you caught up on this morning's news, and we begin with Willa.
Cleanup begins today for the people of Haines City, Florida. A tornado ripped through a retirement community there yesterday, damaging 100 homes. No one was seriously hurt. The twister was part of a weather system that has left 4 feet of standing water in some neighborhoods of the Tampa Bay area. That region has received 15 inches of rain so far this month. Normally, it only gets 2. Police in Michigan have questions for Dr. Jack Kevorkian this morning, but he is not giving any answers. Officers spotted Kevorkian outside the medical examiner's office as he was delivering the body of a Florida woman who had committed suicide. Just an hour earlier, the retired pathologist had delivered the body of a Pennsylvania man to a local hospital. Kevorkian was questioned and then released.
The latest arrest in last week's massacre of 45 villagers in Chiapas has implicated a number of Mexico's ruling party. The mayor of the community where the slaughter took place has been charged with providing weapons to the murderers, then trying to cover up the killings. Zapatista rebels who have been vocal in their support for the natives of Chiapas are predicting that state and federal officials will be found responsible for the massacre. And the cycle of violence has erupted once again in Northern Ireland after yesterday's assassination in prison of Protestant militant leader Billy Wright. Gunmen opened fire outside a hotel disco about 40 miles west of Belfast several hours later. One Catholic security guard was killed. 3 other people were wounded. Protestant leaders in Northern Ireland are urging their followers to stay calm. They are concerned that the killers of Billy Wright want Protestants to retaliate, so they will be blamed for destroying the peace process.
Chinese officials in Hong Kong have decided to kill all the chickens in the territory in an effort to eliminate a mysterious flu that has already claimed 3 lives. A dozen cases of the avian flu have been confirmed. Doctors from the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta are on the scene, searching for clues about how the flu is spread. The slaughter of over 1 million birds will begin tomorrow, and the chickens will be buried in a massive landfill. Researchers at MIT announced a breakthrough this week in the study of the aging process. By studying cell division in brewer's yeasts, the scientists say they may have figured out exactly what happens when we age. Joining us this morning from Boston is MIT's Dr. Leonard Guarente, one of the scientists who made the discovery. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
So what exactly did you find out?
We've thought for some time that there was a particular substance that accumulated in cells and caused them to age. What we found now is what that substance is. It's a piece of DNA that pinches off from a particular chromosome. It accumulates, and cells that get old have a lot of this stuff, and it inhibits their growth and actually causes them to be old.
Okay, so this is in brewer's yeast, though. What does that have to do with humans?
Well, brewer's yeast is a very popular system for study precisely because many processes that occur in brewer's yeast cells also occur in human cells, so that people study yeast because it's relatively easy to find things out, and many of those things turn out to be true for mammalian cells, human cells in particular, as well.
Now that you've made this discovery, do you expect that it will help us in our efforts to reverse or even stop the aging process?
Well, I hope so. I think our goal is to find a way to inhibit the accumulation of this substance so that we might be able to slow down the aging process, at least in some organ systems, for example, skin, maybe muscle, so that people will be able to look younger and feel better for longer. I don't think that people will necessarily live longer, but they'll have a higher quality of life.
All right, Dr. Guarente, interesting study. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
They had to study Eartha Kitt as long with that brewer's yeast for the secret of aging. All right, in GMA sports news, you know what? I'm going to have Robin Roberts, she's still here, read this story. I mean, you're the sportscaster here.
I don't need no stinking script. The NFL playoff yesterday, the Denver Broncos crush the Jags 42-17. The Minnesota Vikings had a much tougher time defeating the New York Giants. The Vikings squeaked out their first playoff win since, are you kidding me, 1988 by scoring 10 points the last 90 seconds of the game, including this 30-yard touchdown from Randall Cunningham to Jake Reed.
Oh.
A dream season for the Giants, a nightmare finish.
Yeah. Now, you did that a lot better than I could have ever even attempted.
That's why I'm here.
Yes, that's why we wanted to keep
Nothing
you.
extra.
No rehearsal, you just did that.
Nope.
That's what I do.
And you'll be back shortly for your special look back at the year in sports.
The Giants will not be included. So
Yes, of course. And Eartha, you'll be back too as well, right? Yes?
Well, I'll think about it.
Okay, thank you. Coming up next, however, before we get to all you, imagine a place with no homework, no grades, and no teachers.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and sounds like summer camp. Well, it's not. It is a school unlike any you've ever seen. And when we come back, we'll show you what it means. Stay with us. In the Sunday weather forecast, rain continues across the Pacific Northwest. Snow is likely across the Great Lakes and parts of the eastern plains. It'll be mostly sunny across the mid-Atlantic and from Texas all the way to California. Today's high temps in the 50s near the Gulf and West Coast, 60s and 70s in Southern California and Arizona, highs in the 20s across the Great Lakes and Northeast. Now, for more on your local weather forecast, check out abcnews.com, on America Online, or the World Wide Web. And GMA Sunday will be right back after this.
Good Morning America Sunday's weather report is brought to you by Publishers Clearinghouse.
Just imagine a school where, if you want, there will be no reading, writing, or arithmetic. It's called the Unschool, and it's based on the idea that kids can learn on their own without direction. Now, it may sound strange, but more than 30,000 students around the country are doing it. Our Bill Redeker recently visited one such school, but he couldn't take an apple for the teacher because there aren't any teachers.
To an outsider, this might look like recess. But for these students who attend Cascade Valley School in Portland, Oregon, this, they say, is how they learn.
Schools should be places where kids can follow their interests and can develop their knowledge and their worldview according to their own lights.
And if that means playing all day, that's okay. This unorthodox approach to learning began 30 years ago at a school in Massachusetts called the Sudbury Valley School. The idea behind it is that kids will learn all they need to know if left to their own devices. That means no traditional teaching, no drills, no tests, not even any grades. 22 students between the ages of 4 and 18 attend Cascade Valley School.
Do you like it here? What do you like about it?
Well, you can play all day. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do.
There are no teachers, but there are 3 adult staff members present every day. Their role is to help the children with projects and to answer questions, but only if they are asked. Staff members are not required to have a degree in education.
I like it because the kids are kind of in charge, so and nobody can really boss you around.
It's amazing when you're in an environment like this how sensible kids are. You know, some people might think, oh, it's Lord of the Flies all over, but kids are truly sensible.
Critics say it's unrealistic to expect children to wisely choose what they should or should not study, and that these children are missing out on experiences that only traditional schools can provide, like working with other children from different ethnic or cultural backgrounds. But it's not just about getting along with other kids.
A trained teacher knows what type of building blocks go into a curriculum so that opportunities are opened up for those students. If you leave it only to students' choice, you get a narrowing of options, not a broadening of them.
It may seem like there isn't much of a structure at Cascade Valley, but the school does have rules and imposes discipline when necessary on both students and staff members. Judiciary Committee meetings are held every day. This is where both staff and students voice complaints, and if disciplinary action is called for, everyone has an equal vote.
The idea that a democratic school is one where kids have an equal vote, I think is a mistake. Adults and kids are not equal. Adults have certain wisdom that kids don't have.
Lisa Heyman's children attend the school. She also serves on Cascade Valley's staff. Initially, Heyman had some doubts when she enrolled her oldest daughter.
I would say, what did you do today? And the answer would be, oh, talk to my friends. And I'm thinking, I'm paying for you to talk to your friends all day.
Heyman now believes in the school, so much so that she enrolled her younger daughter. Some of what goes on here was pretty impressive, like the paintings by 10-year-old Nathy.
How do you know if the child is learning anything?
The answer to your question is we don't. We simply don't know what they're learning. We don't know what their level are at. We know that they're successful. We know they're happy.
Happy, perhaps, but others question whether these kids are getting enough of the fundamentals.
What's 7 times 8?
Let's not talk about that.
It's 56.
I don't like math.
I know, but someday you may have to balance your checkbook.
Melanie is one of 3 students who will graduate from the school this year. The students themselves decide when they are ready to leave. They are then required to write and present a thesis based on the idea that they are prepared to take responsibility for themselves.
What we see from the graduates of the Sudbury Valley type schools is that the kids do just fine. They go to college if they want to. They get jobs as attorneys and doctors and mathematicians, and they have happy, fulfilled lives.
This is Bill Redeker for Good Morning America Sunday.
Now, one of the alumni of the Sudbury Valley School is Talia Gershon, who went to Wesleyan University, and she is now a therapist in private practice. She's a mother of 2, and now I guess deciding whether to send your kids to this kind of school. Are you going to do it?
Right. I would love to. It's not even a decision for me. I mean, I think it's a wonderful experience.
Well, clearly, you're successul in your life. You went to this unschool, if we can use that word, and we have been.
Okay.
What did you get out of it? What did you like about it, and why do you want to send your kids there?
First of all, now that I have children, I understand the school a lot better than I did before. Mm-hmm. I want my kids to be happy. I want my kids to learn how to love education and not fight education. And that's what we had at my school. We really learned to educate ourselves and continue that process through our whole life.
Bill explained it in the piece, but I think even after his story, people are going to wonder, wait a minute, I have a 5-year-old. How can she determine determine what she's going to learn.
Right.
You know, we're sort of trying to guide her in that direction. How can she do that on her own?
It's a very stimulating environment. It's not, when you think of unschooling, it seems like a big void, but it's not a void. It's a very active, stimulating environment where kids are playing and teenagers are talking and there's art going on and music and computer and cooking and classes, and it's stimulating, and children want to be involved. They don't want to sit around and be nothing.
But can't you be involved in a more traditional classroom where you sit and listen to a teacher lecture and go and
If
do
you
your
want
homework?
to, you can. There are classes for the kids who choose to take them, and there's individual instruction for children. There's a very wonderful staff, and it's a very enriching school. And you learn in many ways, not just in a traditional class. There are classes at the school, but there are no class requirements.
Is this for everyone? What about the kid who's not necessarily a self-starter?
I think it really is for everyone.
All kids are self-starters?
As long as they are there at a young age, kids are naturally curious. They want to learn. They want to be successful in life. They don't want to be losers. They absorb like sponges, and that's what the school's based on.
Is this like the free school movement back in the 60s?
Similar, yes. Now, there are rules in the school. There are social rules. There are no academic requirements, but there's a whole social code you have to follow.
We just have a couple seconds.
Sure.
You went to school, you went to college after going to unschool. You had never taken a test. What was it like to take a test for the first time?
I went to Wesleyan University and Columbia University for a master's, and it was great.
The first time you took a test?
I was excited. I was well prepared for my test.
Interesting. Interesting philosophy and theory. Talia, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Coming up next, Robin Roberts with the Year in Sports. Also a little later, Lori Hibbert introduces us to two Southern belles who are getting ready to star in their own fairy tale ball, the International Debutante Ball, that is.
Good Morning America Sunday is brought to you by Sprint.
It was a year of incredible highlights and, some lowlights in the world of sports, and Robin Roberts is here with her look at them, a look back at the year.
An incredible year in many ways.
Starting with these incredible young'uns.
I know. Youth was definitely served in 1997. You look at Tara Lipinski, who at 14 at the time became the youngest ever to win a world championship in figure skating. And what was so interesting is many thought at 14 she wouldn't have the elegance or the maturity to sway, not so much sway the judges, but for them to feel that she was worthy of a world championship. And now she is the favorite, Nagano in 98, to win the Olympic gold medal.
Oh my gosh, at 14.
At 14. And then definitely youth was served in tennis with Martina Hingis, who at 16 became the youngest to become #1, made all 4 Grand Slam finals, winning 3 of the 4, everything but the French Open. And then you have Venus Williams challenging her at 17 years old, and Venus's younger sister coming on later in the year. So it's an incredible year in tennis for youth, but especially when you think of youth and what has really changed, Tiger Woods.
Golf. I mean, a sport where what the average age is 38?
At least it is. It is in the late 30s. And then not just the fact that he became the first man of color to win the Masters. Oh, by the way, in the 50th anniversary week of what Jackie Robinson did to break the color barrier in baseball, but the fact that he won in the manner that he did by 12 strokes. And what I really remember about the Masters was when he came down before he hugged his father, coming down 18, he was like the Pied Piper. The gallery came behind him, and I was looking, and I saw a lot of 13, 14-year-olds, blacks, whites, people that you wouldn't normally see in a gallery at golf.
So really changing the nature of that sport in a lot of ways.
Exactly, not just themselves.
And what about in the case of Tara in figure skating and Martina in tennis? Are these young athletes changing the way the game is played, the way the sport is played?
Especially in the case of Tara Lipinski, because again, people felt, being so young, that you really couldn't show the maturity that it would take to win a world championship. And she had to dethrone a 17-year-old, Michelle Kwan, who was much more elegant, had the longer lines. And the same with Martina Hingis. The way she dominated, only losing a handful of matches. I mean, dominating her matches, winning 3 of the 4 Grand Slams. We haven't seen that in quite some time, at the tender age of 16.
Now, in 96, particularly after the Olympics, we said, wow, this has been a pretty exceptional year for women in sports.
Yes.
Did 97 even take women in sports one step further?
We have seen the first generation of Title IX. Title IX celebrated its 25th anniversary this year. And we've seen the first generation of young women athletes from day one, literally. They've been encouraged to play sports. They've been taught how to play sports. 25 years ago, 1 in 27 women played sports. Now it's 1 in 3 schoolgirls play sports.
1 in 3. That's pretty staggering.
And we saw that with the WNBA. I mean, we saw talented athletes out on the floor, and we saw people appreciating that. Well over 1 million people came out to the 8 WNBA cities this year to watch women's basketball. They're already expanding to Detroit next year, as well as Washington. There's already plans for the following year to expand to 2 more cities, most likely Chicago and Orlando. So we saw the excitement in women's basketball. We saw the excitement. And again, it was because of Title IX, because we've seen this first generation come through, and they're talented athletes.
Great. Now, it's not all good news, though. There's been some really ugly moments this year.
Yeah, there have been, especially when you think of Latrell Sprewell, that ugly incident that happened with P.J. Carlissimo. And it is unfortunate, but I think it also is showing a trend. If we're going to talk about trends that we've seen this year, the sportsmanship or lack thereof with Latrell Sprewell was, and just the fact that, he lost his salary and such, it was really eye-opening.
Eye-opening, and certainly got a response from people, a negative response from people. So
people were talking about it, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll be back after this with the fabulous Eartha Kitt.
Cabs are an essential means of transportation in New York, especially on a cold, wet day like it was yesterday.
Now, to encourage rider safety, the Taxi Commission in New York has had 7 different celebrities record reminders for passengers to buckle up. And you never know whose voice you're going to get once that meter starts ticking.
It's hard to get a cab when it's raining.
Miserable out tonight.
All right, hold on, let me see.
You could get out of the office at a reasonable hour.
Oh, we're lucky. Yeah. Here we go. All right.
Wow, this is great. We got a cab.
Put the umbrella down. It's so hard to do these umbrellas. Hi. Uptown, please, cabbie.
Hello, this is Eartha Kitt. Cats have 9 lives. Wow. But unfortunately, you have only 1. So buckle your seatbelts for safety.
Wow. Can you imagine that a cab driver has to listen to that?
Over and over. How
all
many times a day?
Day long. Cabbie, what's it like listening to Eartha Kitt 50 times a day?
I beg your pardon? I think she's perfect.
What a good sport you were to come out yesterday and do that.
I know.
In the rain.
Particularly with I'm on a jet lag from Portugal, and I'm still with you, darling. And here I am this morning at 5:30, still with you.
Can you imagine? You're quite a trooper.
You told us yesterday that was the first time you'd heard that?
In the cab, yes.
Yeah.
Of course, I've heard it in the studio, such as when I'm doing shows like this with you all.
Yeah.
And therefore, to actually hear it in a cab was very wowing.
Oh, that
Okay. So this is what we've been talking about this for 2 days. Where did that purr first start?
I have no idea. When I'm gargling, trying to, in the morning when I'm, But also I think it came from the fact that I was learning French very strongly at one time and having to learn those rows.
Yeah.
Lay a couple words in French on us, Eartha.
Qu'est-ce que vous voulez?
Oh, God, you're driving me crazy.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a avec toi?
Oh, Eartha Kitt. Now, you were Catwoman, so you used that purr a lot in the old Batman series, right?
Yes, but actually how they came about having me do the purring is I don't actually know, because every time they ask me to do a character like that or any kind of character, they write the sentences as with many R's as is possible.
We understand why.
You're going to perform for us a little later on and purr for us too, I hope, right? We'll be right back.
Wow. Eartha Kitt has us working up a sweat.
Isn't she exciting? If one person I know who's going to be like that at 70, it's going to be Lori Hibbert. With that kind of energy, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I do. As a matter of fact.
It's amazing. It's infectious, is what it is.
It is.
Some of the old crew guys were out there jumping around and stuff. You should have seen it. Camera wasn't shooting on them.
Something happens to men when Eartha Kitt,
What do you think it is?
Gee, I don't know, Bill.
I could tell you. It's amazing. No, she's got it. There's no question. She turns up the heat.
She's pretty phenomenal.
Speaking of turning up the heat, Lori's going to turn up the heat today. Where are you going? Debutante balls that we sent you, right?
The International Debutante Ball is tomorrow night in New York City. So what we decided to do was follow around a young girl who's from Texas. Her name is Hallie Eady.
and she's getting ready to come out.
Now, what's interesting is that I think we tend to think that those things are sort of died in the past. They're really old-fashioned, but they're big again, apparently.
Well, you know, it has a lot to do with the economy, I'm told. It's 1997. People are doing better financially. You know, cigar smoking is back in, red meat eating, some people wearing fur. I mean, it's the age of luxury again, and part of that luxury is spending the money to have your daughter come out into society.
And they don't all talk like that, right?
No, they don't. A lot of them talk like this.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it's very big in the South.
All right, and you're going to show us all about it in a few minutes.
I am.
All right. First, we'll get caught up on a morning headline. The days after Christmas are traditionally a time for bargain hunting, but not on this scale. The recent decline in the Korean stock market has created what some investors are calling a tremendous buying opportunity. Here's one example. Samsung Electronics is the world's largest producer of computer memory chips. Last October, the Korean company was worth nearly $7 billion. Today, you could buy all the stock in the company for less than $2.5 billion. Can I borrow some money? Of course, you'd also be taking on Samsung's debt, which we don't like, which is nearly $8 billion. But in the world of corporate takeovers, some investors find such a deal irresistible. If I could just borrow a couple $1 billion.
You know what? If I had a couple $1 billion, I would be very generous and probably loan you some.
I'd give you some of the profits.
Okay. Well, this week on Christmas Eve, in fact, the Clinton administration unveiled a major financial package designed to help South Korea regain its economic footing. But some critics are saying it's just not enough. Sam Donaldson joins us from Washington this morning. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Willow. I can't lend you the money either. Sorry.
Oh, well. Well, if we could negotiate some raises, maybe we could get this thing going. So, Sam, the administration sort of reversed its position this week. What did they do? Why did they do that?
Well, I think it may be fear, Willow. We're going to ask a couple of people this morning about that. Fear in the sense that the Asian markets have all gone into shambles, and that really impacts on us. We have the strongest economy in the world, but no longer can we just say, well, we're the island here, and everybody else can go their own way. If the Asian markets can't be forced to recover in some way, and South Korea is now the poster child for the recovery, then we can be drawn into it. Our economy can falter. Our phenomenal growth of 6 or 7 years can falter. And so I think the Clinton administration understood that the peril was here. We're going to be talking to Mark Malloch Brown, who is the vice president of the World Bank, the organization along with the IMF that is really in the center of this bailout recovery effort. And with Paul Krugman, you may have seen his op-ed columns, an economist with MIT, and we'll put that very question you put to me to the experts.
All right, so Sam, I'm wondering, what kind of support is there for this plan in Congress? I mean, how does this fly politically?
Well, it doesn't fly very well politically because, again, we have to have a Pearl Harbor in this country, and then we get to work and we win the war, whatever it is. And at the moment, people are doing pretty well. And to say to them, well, we're going to spend $10 billion to begin with, and the eventual bailout plan with others involved may be over $50 billion, and it's going to be your tax dollars, thank you very much, is not going to be very palatable at the forks of the crick, as the old politicians say. People out there just don't see how it impacts on them. And so it's going to be a little difficult sell in Congress.
Okay, Sam, now I know that you're also going to be taking a look at the year past and the year ahead with Doris Kearns Goodwin, but I'm wondering, what's your take on what the big political story was last year, this year?
Well, you say the big political story. I guess the big political story was that the Congress and the President got together on a balanced budget and then discovered that the rising income, at the moment at least, from tax receipts, looks like we're going to have a balanced budget without the plan. But it's not one of those years in which we're going to remember this. We're going to remember, I guess, Princess Diana's death. We're going to remember the Hale-Bopp comet and those poor unfortunate souls who committed suicide because they thought they'd be riding on a spacecraft behind the comet. And Doris Kearns Goodwin, you were talking about the debutante ball, takes the view that the decade of the 90s, we've gone back to almost the decade of the 1920s. Not that she's predicting a crash, but simply that we're living well, the luxurious items, the frivolity is back, the non-serious side of American life. And this can lead to problems.
All right, Sam, well, we'll be watching this week later on this morning. Thanks, as always, for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Willow. Always a pleasure.
Take care, Sam. Coming up next, Lori Hibbert shows off her Texas dip. We'll be back.
You gonna show us?
Oh, please.
Just a little preview right now?
It's not really a show off. It's more. It's unbelievable. Yeah, and so are you.
Fairly.
Yeah.
You know, the old world tradition of debutante balls is a chance for young ladies of high society, and those who want to be, to play dress up for real. But the times, they are changing. White gowns are still a must, but at debutante balls these days, believe it or not, the Macarena is almost as popular as the waltz. So who better to send down their own debutante?
Yeah.
Lori Hibbert to get the skinny on what's going on down there.
Can I tell you, when they called me about this story, I was very sarcastic and a little sort of like, oh, debutante. Me! What an antiquated idea. I can't believe they still do it. I thought it was over with, but it's actually something that has become very popular once again. Not a lot of participation in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, but it has slowly, gradually grown back up into a very popular thing. And, we hear a lot about people coming out these days, and it's a term that we associate in the 90s with something that Ellen DeGeneres did and we got on the cover of Time magazine for. But long before that happened, coming out meant something completely different. What it really means in the debutante society is that your parents are presenting their daughter to society and letting everyone know that she's all grown up now.
Thank heaven for little girls.
December is debutante season in New York City. Girls from all over the world will come out into society at one of 3 Deb balls. It's a 200-year-old tradition that used to mean a girl was eligible for marriage, but today it's really more ceremony than substance.
Well, it sort of says you're all grown up now, I think. Your parents are sort of honoring you and saying, here's my daughter, and it's a wonderful family time.
If you're from the right family, that is. Coming out costs upwards of $10,000. It's an indulgence wealthy families can afford in the 90s. Peaches and Hallie Eady's flew in from Houston to make final preparations for Hallie's debut.
Why did you decide to come out in the first place?
Well, I'd never really thought about it much, and then it was just something that came up, and they're like, do you want to do it? And I was like, okay.
When she said okay, she probably didn't consider the dreaded Texas dip, an elaborate curtsy that the Lone Star Debs are famous for.
Okay, you know what? Before you go into the dryer, I think we need to practice the dip.
Arms out.
Arms out. Oh, you put your knee down? And then how do you get up?
Just get up. No.
Jeez, I am not 18 anymore, I'll tell you that.
I'm always frightened when the Texas women make their bow that they're going to just fall completely dead over, and they're going to have to pick them up and put them in a stretcher and take them home.
Hair's done. It's off to Bergdorf Goodman for makeup.
And we'll give her a soft, shiny mouth and a little smoke on the eyes.
Peaches, you ready?
Game.
We're going to practice
I'm in my
the
pants. I'm
Texas
fine.
dip. Here we go. Arms out. Stop. The Eady's women have been Texas dipping for 3 generations. Grandmother bowed back in 1939, and Mom even made the cover of the New York News magazine when she dipped in '66.
What does it feel like to see your daughter doing this? It makes me realize she's a big girl now. It's hard to believe she's grown.
Final stop, the all-important dress fitting at Vera Wang.
I can't wait for you to see it. I hope you like it. I think you will.
Oh, I'm going to love it. I know I am.
Great, yes, but not without problems.
Let's see the watch. Want to sit back?
Mm-hmm.
I can't go down now.
Oh, that needs to be slit.
Yeah.
A few adjustments and Hallie's ready to wow them at the ball.
I think when she gets up on the stage and looks out at all those people, she'll realize it's special. Thanks for sharing your day with us. We really appreciate it. Good luck, okay? Good luck with that dip.
She's sweating the dip, I'll tell you. As I said, it's tomorrow night in New York City.
Now, you heard Sam Donaldson suggest that the rise in debutante balls is sort of the signal of the fall of Western civilization.
Decline of society.
Did you get that sense at all when you were there?
Not
Did
at
you
all.
change your mind?
It's a big excuse for a party and for everybody to have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely for a certain society in our country, but it's just a lot of fun.
You did very well.
You ready to dip? Come on, Bill. Come on.
Bob, Joey, will you help us move the table here? We're going to have to get the prop guys in here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Can I lift this thing? All right. If I can't lift it, I can't dip, right?
All right, yeah.
Willow, do you want to join us?
Oh,
Where
no.
are you?
No,
you
Where
sure?
are you?
All right, arms up, arms up.
All right.
Nope, I'm right here.
Be proud, you're a Texas woman.
I'm proud I'm a Texas woman. I got to tell myself that.
You're point out front.
Point.
Bring it around.
All right.
Go way back.
Way
Bring
back.
it all the way back.
Do I take
your
it?
knees down.
Knees down.
This one goes frontwards.
All right.
You go right down.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on, Bill.
I've had knee surgeries here.
And
All
then
right.
you put your forehead to the ground.
All right. All right. And I've done it?
Well, then you get up.
Oh, then I get,
Then we get up,
without your arm?
You raise, exactly, you raise on your knee.
Uh-huh. How much time before a commercial? All right.
And then up again.
Wow, I sort of did it. I did a faux dip.
You did it very well.
Thank you,
You're
Lord.
so welcome.
We'll be right back with the music of someone who I bet you can do the dip, Eartha Kitt.
I'll bet you you're right.
I bet you you're right. We'll be right back. Well, that was great. Let's try that
You like that
again.
again? Right. It's easier the second time. It really is. Up and around, back, down.
It's easier the second time. One more time. Look at that mouth. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful mouth. We're back with Eartha Kitt.
We're surviving Eartha Kitt here in the studio today.
Yes, thank you very much.
Now, you've written 3 autobiographies. You're writing your 4th, I understand. One of them is called I'm Still Here. Isn't that the truth? She is singing better and staying, may I say, sexier.
Thank you very
more
much,
beautiful.
darling.
Oh, my goodness. Than ever before. Last year, her CD, Back in Business, received, hear this, a Grammy nomination. Add that to another Grammy nomination, 2 Tony nominations, as well as Emmy and Oscar nominations. I would say you're fairly talented.
Yes, and I'm helped very much by my daughter, who was the executive producer of Back in Business.
And her name is Kitt.
Kitt Shapiro, yes.
Kitt Shapiro.
You know, we should do a talk show together, my daughter and I, because we have a lot of fun together.
I think you're doing it right now.
Is she around? Is she out here?
No, she's not,
Okay.
but she's back there somewhere.
Because
I wish she was out here because I'd
stunning.
love
Not
you.
that should be a surprise, because she's absolutely stunning. your
Yes,
daughter.
she is absolutely beautiful.
You said something
the
earlier.
Right jeans, wrong man.
Okay, well, we can talk about that a little later, too. You said something, seriously, you said something earlier about you don't perform, you do. And
Yes.
it was funny at the time, but it's serious when it comes to your art. You are still creating, still coming up with new material. You said yesterday you were learning still 3 new songs for your Carlisle appearance.
Which starts Friday, right?
Is it Friday? I've lost track of
January
time.
2nd?
Yes,
Friday.
yes.
So you have a lot of work to do between now and Friday.
Yeah, after we leave you today, Darryl and I go back to my house up in Westchester, and we start rehearsing very intensely for the opening of the Carlisle Hotel, which is March 2nd. I'll be there through January 2nd,
right.
and
Willow
I'll be
was right,
there
yeah.
through March 7, and then we start with Wizard of Oz.
Do you still get nervous when you've got all this?
Are you kidding? Where's your bucket?
Well, are you not nervous now, I hope?
Of course I am. I'm constantly nervous.
Darryl Waters is your pianist?
Yes, he's been with me for something like 12 years. He grew up with me, as a matter of fact.
She's wild, Darryl.
Oh, yeah.
She keeps you young, right?
Oh, yeah.
She keeps herself young. What are you going to perform for us right now?
It was a very good year, and
Great.
nothing is more believable than that.
All right, the one and only Eartha Kitt will
Thank you,
take us
Dan.
off the air as well.
Thank you. When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town boys in soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green when I was 17. When I was 21, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for older men with Wall Street charm. We'd stroll arm in arm into 21 when I was 21. When I was 35, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for younger men who looked good in jeans. We'd ride in limousines and my chauffeur would drive. When I was 35. And now the days are short. I'm in the autumn of the year. And I think of my life as a fine vintage wine from fine vintage kegs, from the brim to the dregs. It pours a sweet and clear. It's still a very good year. And the days dwindle down to a precious few. September, November, and these few precious days I'll spend with you. These golden days I'll spend with you.
Good Morning America Sunday is brought to you by Vacuum Folgers.
Boy, what a great song. And you did it very well.
Thank you very much.
You really did. You put everything into it.
Thank you very much. Because the writer of that song changed some words for my benefit.
The men in the jeans.
Yeah.
Yes. Frank Sinatra didn't say that word, I don't think. We have to do a couple of program notes before we get to our little round table here. Later this morning on This Week with Cokie Roberts and Sam Donaldson, the Terry Nichols verdict, and a year-end roundup. And tonight on World News Sunday with Carol Simpson, the off-field battle for NFL rights, why there's so much at stake in this costly game.
And tomorrow on Good Morning America, kids and alcohol. It's the time of year when partying can turn to tragedy, but there are some ways to get the message across to your teenagers. Find out how in this special series starting Monday. Also a look at the hot trends for 98 and a look back at the most ridiculous products you may have bought in 97.
I think we had an alcohol-free party here this morning.
We did.
Thanks to you, Eartha, Kitt.
Yeah, that's it. The best way to get high is au naturel.
Yes, well, you're a good example of that. You want to talk about George?
Yes.
Yeah.
Eartha appears, actually has written a column in this month's George magazine. It has been 30 years since you were at the White House. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what happened when Lady Bird Johnson invited you as part of a group of women to the White House.
That's very interesting that you say that, Willa, because she invited me to give my opinions of the problems among the young people at the time. I was not invited to one of those dinners. Mm-hmm. And I gave her my opinion about the problems that was going on between the young people at the time.
Well, there you are right
and
now.
within 2 hours, I was out of work in the United States because she was on the subject of beautifying America, and I was on the subject of really getting to the bottom line of the problem. And I only found out that I was not able to work in the United States until 1974, when Seymour Hersh called me to print it in the New York Times.
The New York Times reporter. Now, you talked about the Vietnam War, how that war tearing the country apart and was hurting the morale of young people. And it's an interesting theme today. You paid the price for it, but you kept your integrity. We had a young person's theme on the show a little bit today, given what you did 30 years ago at the White House. Lori talking about the debutantes, and you, Robin, focusing on the young kids in sports in 1997.
Doing so well, but they have to learn because you're seeing so many young people with these $100 million, multi-million-dollar contracts. And when we're talking about, and we ended on a down note about Latrell Sprewell, we have to remember there are a lot of athletes that are doing good things. And some of them are a little bit older, but even some younger ones. And though that is the theme about younger people in sports.
It's tough to get tainted by that bad behavior because the reality is athletes have been tarnished really badly by this. I think
What's that, one bad apple spoils the whole?
Yeah, the combination of the $100 million contracts and some really, truly ugly behavior.
Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear. We're not going to forget about that. And Latrell Sprewell and Bill Romanowski spitting in the face of J.J. Stokes on Monday Night Football. And yes, those things tend to be glorified. And I think that we should spend more time looking at those good athletes. And there's so many more of those.
Are you more hopeful given what Robin just talked about with the young people?
Not really, because I think the more money that they hear about that these sports people are making, then they get more encouraged to be a sports person rather than an intelligent person.
Good point.
Such as
Thank you for joining us, Eartha Kitt, Robin Roberts, Lori Hibbert. Thank you for joining us. Have a great New Year, everybody. We'll see you here next Sunday.
week. So that's
Good Morning America Sunday has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.